Truly, folks. I hope everyone's doing well and safe, as I said. And obviously, what more can I personally say on that game? Trent Alexander-Arnold, some fucking fan. Pardon me, I want to discount the opposition a bit, but some lovely passes from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Some, Saka for me, man of the match, Arsenal bias included. But every Kane obviously doing what he needs to do. Defense not troubled really. Ramsdale had to save one shot where his positioning weren't the best, if I'm honest with you, in the build-up. And obviously he's punched out at the corner. Apart from that, that's all he's had to do, really and truly. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Again, 10-0, innit? It's 10-0. Like, you played some part-timers, and it looks like a game where part-timers played, innit? Respectfully to these part-timers. So it is what it is, man. England v San Marino. What are you lot saying, people? Let me get into what you lot are saying. So that's that. Obviously, as well, on the topic of that, we'll get into that. Man said Trent or James, both generational. Oof. At what though? Because it's even. Funny enough, I think Reece James's footballing IQ in general, like all aspects of the game, is higher than Trent's, because I think, I just think from what I've seen of Reece James, I've watched him as a young man when he was maybe 8, 9, he's playing up front. Obviously, everyone plays everywhere, but as he's got older, I've seen him play centre half well, centre midfield, right back. I just think he's very intelligent with in terms of football. I think Trent's one of the fastest thinkers. Obviously, Liverpool fans will always show you that quickly taking corner. I personally think Reece James is a bit more all-rounded. Like, I think James is better defensively than Trent, but I think what Trent offers you in the attacking third, Reece James can't really chat to him right now. And even that, I'm being harsh on Reece James, because Reece James against Newcastle, a couple times for England now, Chelsea, like he said, he's in the form of his life. It's a very close one. You know what? Trent's probably better than him, but I would prefer Reece James. I don't want to say Reece James can be better than Trent, because it's close. But I just prefer Reece James. I just think he's a better general reader of the game. I just think, I think on the whole, I think Reece James is more all-rounded. I think what Trent offers you, the free kicks, the assists, the going forward, I don't think Reece James can chat to him. I think there's a bit of a gulf. But I would say, I don't think Reece is behind. Why I say I don't think he can chat to him is that obviously Reece James can pick a pass, he can do bare stuff, he can assist, he can score. It's just I've seen Trent do it for years to a serious level now. You see him smacking that free kick against West Ham. You see some lovely passes. It's got to that level under Trent where I'm not amazed by it, and I'm a bigger Reece James fan. I'm not amazed by it. Trent is normal, but Reece James, again, he can do it. He can do it well in terms of the aspect. They're probably together, but I haven't seen him do it at this level to the standard of Trent consistently. Again, Reece James can do it. He has done it, and if he keeps doing it, we revisit this debate. I think Reece James is probably all more rounded. I think defensively, Reece James is probably better 1v1. I think his positioning is better. I think his reading of the game is better. I think his marking is better. I think Trent can go to sleep quite a lot defensively. But I think what Trent does and what he's able to do right now at this moment in time, he can do it to a serious ability. I still think Reece James is finding him, but it's an interesting debate. And you know what? There's a reality they could play together. Reece James, I've even seen him play midfield. I'm not advocating he's going to play midfield for England and obviously Chelsea, but I think they're two fantastic players, man. Again, they're that two of the strongest sides right now. It's crazy. I mean, it all depends, really. That's a good way. If you look at it from a winger, I mean, as a fullback, I don't know, I'd rather be more like Reece James, because I just think when you look at all the aspects of defending, I don't think Reece James is below a 5 at anything. Same with Trent, but I do think Reece James is more rounded. I think he excels defensively and excels offensively. I think Trent is more leans towards the attacking side, if that makes sense. And I think people overdo it with Trent defensively. I think Trent's a quicker thinker in the final third, clearly, and whatnot. It's a tough one. As a winger, I don't know who I'd want to play against. I don't know if I want to play against Reece James. He's quick, he's strong, he's a good reader. Trent is stubborn as well when it comes to defending. Clearly two of the best right backs in the Prem, probably in world football right now, and it's an interesting debate. And it's a shame. I'd say it's a shame, not for them two, but we're sitting here, we're talking about Reece James and Trent. You've got them, you've got Lamptey, you've got Livramento coming on the scene. Unfortunately, James Justin got a serious injury, over a year now for Leicester, and he'd be in it. Obviously, Arsenal plug. He's got no opportunity of getting in there. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles has been called up. There's a lot of talent where it comes to fullback, and I think the next one for me, I will be Livramento. I think he's got something. Again, I don't know too much about his background, but Livramento ain't that's surely got Italian last name or something. So if you're Italian or if he is eligible for another country, I'd be getting on the phone to his advisors and agents and all them things similar to what Germany were doing with Musiala and saying, yo, come and pattern up, man. But it's an interesting debate. And I think when you look at the fullbacks in general this season, man, I'm moving mad. Trent, I can't lie, out of all the fullbacks in the Prem, I'd want to have Trent's life in terms of a footballing perspective playing for Liverpool because yeah, you have to defend, but you're going for, your team is dominating possession for large periods of the game, anyways. The assists are coming from the flanks, anyways. The manager wants you to go forward. There's not too many times Trent has to defend, really and truly, and there's not going to be too many games. Reece James the same. I think with Aspilicueta's legs going, it's probably time for him to play as more of a member of the back three than out wide, because I do think Chelsea have to compensate for that. Like I look at the game away to Brentford, Kante's having to pull out wide, and it kind of is killing their attacking way. Obviously, when you look at it, could you say what? Who would you say? Obviously you've got Trent moving mad. You've got Reece James moving mad. Reece James against Newcastle was solid. Reece James has been popping up in the final third as well. And I think Reece James has got a lot of potential. I just think Reece James needs to do things a bit more quicker. Like he's still got that bit of academy football-esque about him, is that sometimes because he's cultured on the ball, he wants a million years. It's not even that. It's not even a that thing. And then obviously in the Prem, you can't really. Who would you say is the best performing fullbacks right now? You'd have to say Trent and Reece James. Well, I'd say Reece James first on current form. You'd have to say Trent, and then you've got Cancelo. And Cancelo, I mean, it's an interest. Bro, I can't. I'm just happy to see fullbacks getting rated. I'm happy to see Dani Alves return to Barcelona. Cancelo's a madman in the final third, left and right back. Reece James play everywhere. Trent can do everything. Not a fan of the experiment of putting Trent in midfield. I think he can do it, but it's a bit of a myth, really and truly. It's crazy. Livramento could play for Portugal, Scotland, or England. See? Livramento, I can't lie. I thought there was Italian there, but see, if you're Portugal, you might as well clap him now. Like, who else is going to get, like, surely he gets into that team. Like, how many right backs have Portugal got? Scotland, you might as well try as well. Reece James has seven goal involvements in 8 games. The man's moving mad. The man is moving mad. They're both moving mad, really. And it's an interesting debate. Like I said, when you look at them, really, it's just a shame neither are at Arsenal, because there's that homegrown thing. And then obviously as well, I'd say the most impressive thing, how much money has Trent Alexander-Arnold saved Liverpool, especially when you consider, not just the part that he's played individually in winning the Champions League and the Prem and that, but literally how much money has that saved them? Like, if someone wanted to buy, let's just say Trent was at a Brighton or something, respectfully, how much is that? That's 50, Ben White was 50 million. I would sit there and say 50, but Ben White was 50 million, How much is Trent then? If Reece James is at somewhere else, how much is that? So how much money are they saving it? They spent a lot of money on Van Dijk and Alisson. How much does Trent save them? How much does Reece James going to save Chelsea? Because I think he's a future Chelsea captain. I don't want to say England captain because there's a lot of variables, but the way Reece James carries himself, I think he could be an England captain one day. And he saved Chelsea a crap load of money, And if he was ever sold again, not that not that he will be sold, but he's going to be sold for both of them ridiculous peas, really and truly. World record sums for fullbacks, really, and I'm loving it. Really, fullbacks are the most important in the game. We're finally getting the respect we deserve. So, yeah, man, I would say that, man. In terms of general current form, I don't know who I would say are the best performing in the Prem. I would say it's between them three. I say three. Specifically, we've been talking about Reece James and Trent. I would also throw Cancelo into that. Shameless Tomiyasu plug. Tavares plug. Now I'm playing. They're nowhere near. I'm trying to think. To be fair, I think Cresswell's been playing quite well for West Ham. I think Cresswell's been in good form as well. I don't know where the England team goes and whatnot, but yeah, he's been decent. I feel Chilwell's been finding his feet recently as well. After mentally a big summer for him where he's disappointed not to play in the Euros, and sometimes he's in and out the Chelsea team. Who else is there? I've said Trent, Reece James, Chilwell, Cancelo. I don't know what's going on with Luke Shaw on the flip side of things. I don't know what I'm going for Luke Shaw. Wan-Bissaka, do you know what it is? I like Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka, he's one of them, man, yeah, where if you had a real, you see, like with Calvert-Lewin, you can see the work that Duncan Ferguson did with him. Or you look at Pochettino, you could see the work he did with Danny Rose and Kyle Walker to a degree. And obviously Pep taking my man to another level, and that's a Walker to another level, and that's another one who's performing well. But Wan-Bissaka, I think he's got a lot of old habits. You know, first thing, I can't believe he used to be a winger. Like I don't know how you went through the Crystal Palace system being a winger. Football's a funny old game of opinions. My opinion isn't relevant because I'm not no scout for them. They thought you could. End of the day, they made 40, 50, however many much selling you to United. Academy prospect being sold to the biggest club in England is a success story. But what I mean by that is I find you're not one of them fullbacks where at least you could say you're very poo defensively, but you overcompensate going forward. I don't think he's bad as people make out defensively, but for playing for Man United and the modern game, he is quite meaty. He's got a lot of poor defensive habits, like a lot of things that helps Wan-Bissaka is his defensive things that people give him credit for. He switches off quite a lot. He doesn't follow runners. You look at the game against Leicester where he's trying to, he's switched off for the free kick. He's giving it away and then he's trying to nonchalantly flick it out. He's got a lot of bad habits. I just don't think he's a Man United fullback. Again, I do think there's potential there, but he looks like he's got a lot of bad habits. And between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Michael Carrick, it doesn't look like these guys and whoever's around doesn't look like these guys can uncoach these bad habits. So I actually think Wan-Bissaka's in trouble, really. That's an area to be looking at. You never know. I want him to play well and that. I like Wan-Bissaka, but I just think he's incredibly meaty. And we'll call that first bit the Fullbacks Union. And if you don't know what that was, I was planning to have a show. Obviously, I'm a Sunday League fullback, so why not have a little bit of fun where we talk about fullbacks or what's going on with fullbacks in world football, the Premier League, or in general. So I think that will be the first installment. Really, I'll just cut that clip up. Fullbacks Union Show. Reece James or Trent. I don't know. I think, do you know what it is? I think Reece James is more all-rounded at the whole aspect of being a fullback. But I just think what Trent does, Reece James can't do it to that level at this moment in time consistently. It's a good debate, man. My bias is towards Reece James, but my bias is also towards Trent. I would say Trent's better than him at this moment in time, but it's not a golf, if that makes sense. It's not not no golfing, and it's a good problem for England to have. Obviously, you throw into that kid, you throw into that Kyle Walker. He's not going to be around forever, but still, at least for the World Cup, he'll be there. Don't worry, lads. Trippier will start at the World Cup. Yeah, Trip. You know yourself. Trippier is playing fullback. Trippier is playing left back. So it's a bit of a myth, man. I think they are generational. If they stay fit and healthy, their numbers and achievements in the next 10 years will be nuts. I wouldn't personally. I think Reece James and Trent are very good players, but that term generational, I think, is thrown around quite a lot. To be fair to you, a lot of these new English players you could say are generational. They're doing their thing, but when I see generational off the top of my head, I think Haaland, I think Mbappe, I think Lionel Messi, I think these sort of guys. I think R9. I think Ronaldinho, I think Neymar. I'm not sure if these lot are generational, which, to be fair, a lot of these England players, I think Foden is generational out of these England boys. Big fan of Saka, Saka, Greenwood, they might be able to. I wouldn't go as far as to say that yet, even though I really want to say that for Saka, and I'll be honest, more so Greenwood, I think he somewhat is. But I only believe in my heart at this moment in time, convincingly, I could say Phil Foden is. I'm not saying Reece James or Trent ain't. I just think it's thrown around quite a lot. Really, I think so. Pedri, Asu Fati, that's generational for me as well. Now, obviously, sound like I've got a bit of a bias going against the English, but yeah, man. Big shout out to everyone. Some interesting comments, man. Would be an honor to play and get smacked up. I would never stop talking about it. And I think it's, what it is with the whole San Marino losing 10-0. It's what I call the big, it's almost like, I don't know how to make sense, but it's like first world privilege. It's like for you, like, let's segregate this tournament. Let's not let them qualify. Oh, we beat a bunch of part timers, but for some, man, you don't know what's going on in their country. Again, I don't think San Marino's that, but if there's conflict, the football can pull them together. It can unite. Football has stopped wars. Obviously, you're representing